And I apologize, if you're working on your iPad, it's not going to be the exact same process, but you will still be able to do the same things, but I may have to come around later and show you what it might look like on the iPad. It's the buttons just might look different, if that makes sense.
So we download that first?
Yeah, so if you go to this, if you just type that into your URL, it'll take you to a Google Drive folder, and you can download the video files. So there should be 4 files. There's a part 1, part 2, part 3, and a picture. So yeah, if you have that. All right. Oh, I'm sorry, here, I can leave it up on the screen for you. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and open iMovie. So I'm just going to do a quick gauge as well for anyone. Has anyone used iMovie before or done any video editing? Yeah, here and there. Okay. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of go over just kind of the basic bare bones. All right. Yeah, I did it in my office. I kind of broke some of my rules. The lighting's not great, so I just did it real quick and easy. But this took me, to do this, it probably took me under an hour to create I think, a minute video, that kind of thing, which I'll show you guys how to do. It's just very, very fast, especially with iMovie. All right, so I'm going to start by creating my own movie. All right, so first things first is I'm going to drag my content into iMovie. Super easy to do, so I'm just going to grab everything that I have, click and drag, and it's in there. So I can just double check to make sure that it's in the right process, or it's in the right, what's the word? I'm going blank, but it's in the right order. Yeah, going totally blank, sorry. But yeah, all right, so first one, the first thing we want to do is trim the beginning and the end, or trim those dead spots. So I went through, and then we'll go ahead, let's see if it plays for you guys. What I'm going to do is I have that pause in the beginning and the end, and all that you need to do is you select it, make sure you have the right one selected, and that yellow bar will pop up, and click and drag to where you want to go. Another way to do this, if you want to be more exact, is how you stop and start on iMovie is you press the space bar, and once I get to the part I want to cut, I press the space bar again, and I get that line right where I want it. So if you really want to be exact on where you cut it, you can kind of just like move it around with the arrow keys. I'll get where my eyes are open. And I'm going to go back to that line right there, right click, and split clip. So I've now split that clip, and I just select it and I delete. So that way you can be a little bit more exact. I mean, you could do that with the sliding tool as well, but that's just my personal preference. I just like to cut them up like that. All right, so now let's cut that bottom part, the last part. And you also want to leave a little bit of leeway, because I'll show you in a second why. We're going to add transitions in between the clips, and if you don't do that, then the transitions are going to be a little off. So you might want to add like a second, just a beat of that pause afterwards. So I'm just going to split that. So I've got that shorter clip, and the beginning and the end are both trimmed to where I want them to be. All right, so now this is kind of more the screencasting portion of it. Oh, let me make this big for you guys, sorry. As in most screencasts, it kind of takes a second to get going. And so I'm going to go, I open up Google in this screen recording, and I start typing. So I really just want it to start up rather than my desktop finding Chrome and opening it, because they don't need to see that. I'm just going to start it right when I start typing into the search field. So I've got my bar there. I'm going to right click and split clip and delete that. All right, same thing, so I'm typing. So the question in the video is I'm talking about the Chinese New Year, which was yesterday, or Lunar New Year, and asking what you're typing in the zodiac sign for this year's, and so I think the pig pops up, and then my mouse kind of slides over and I stop the recording. So they also don't need to see that, so I'm just going to get rid of, just trim a little bit off that edge. So we've got that, and then same thing here, I take a few pauses, I'm just going to trim that up and give that a little bit more. So I can kind of tell, just without even listening to the sound, when I stop talking, because my lips stop moving. So there we go. All right, so that's just how we trim. I'm going to take, that's the main thing that I want you guys to walk away with, is being able to know how to do that. So if anyone has any issues or want to see that on their device, I can take a second and show. You guys good? That can keep moving on? All right. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you guys is we're going to add some transitions. It's just a good practice, otherwise it's just a little bit choppy. These are just kind of like some of the extra sprinkles. This is just drag and drop if you have multiple clips you want to put together. Easy as pie, you can do this. And same with the, what I have here is an image at the very end. I'm going to put that, we'll use that later, but if you do just have images, what you want to do is select the image, and they're going to automatically add, it's called a Ken Burns effect. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Ken Burns documentaries or anything like that. It's like the Civil War documentaries where there's a picture and it moves. So I'll show you that Ken Burns effect right here. It's basically, it just moves down. You can get rid of that. That's going to be the default, but you can get rid of it by selecting it and clicking on, or clicking on the crop tool. And there are three options. There's fit, crop to fill, or the Ken Burns effect. So I would say if you just want the image fully on the screen, then just say either fit or crop to fill, but sometimes the crop to fill doesn't quite work all the way. So I would say just do the fit to take away that Ken Burns effect. So, all right, so adding transitions, sorry, back to that. I'm gonna go up to this transitions tool, and we have a lot of different options. I would say, unless, I don't know if anyone's Star Wars fans, but the early Star Wars, they were famous for, these like crazy swipe right, all those different ones. So you probably don't want to use those. Your best bet is to do cross dissolve and fade to black. Those are the two you really need to know about. And cross dissolve, when in doubt, use cross dissolve. I'm just going to add a cross dissolve in between all of the middle of my videos. And I'll show you what that has added. Actually, here, let me take it away first, and I'll show you that transition. So this is what it would look like. So if I add a cross dissolve, it just makes that transition a little bit smoother. Did you guys kind of notice that? Just barely, just sort of dissolves into the next screen. However, like I said, the reason why you want to add a little bit of a buffer at the end of each clip, like don't trim it exactly to the point you want, because those transitions pull from, so it's like it'll take like a second from each side of your clips. So if you're not careful, your image will start, your clips will transition before you want them to. So that's why you leave just a little bit of a buffer. So yeah, cross dissolve, it's just a real nice and easy way to transition over. So 2019. And it just looks real smooth. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to do a picture-in-picture effect. This, I think, would be a great way to incorporate if you had a PowerPoint that you wanted to use and in your online class and you didn't know quite how to transition that over to an online course, if you had a PowerPoint presentation that you just always used. So you could either export your PowerPoint as images and then add them in like I'm going to show you here, or if you're just talking about an image, or if you're a history teacher and you're talking about, this is the map of so-and-so, and you just want to have it on your screen, then that's a great visual to add. But it's super easy. So like I said, I have my image in already uploaded, but I'm just going to take that and drag it over the clip I want it to go in. And I'll show you, actually hold on, let me show you really quick what that clip says and where it needs to go.
2019 is the year of the pig.
So as I point, that's where I want it to go. So I'm going to click and drag, and it'll kind of show me where I'm placing it. See, as I'm dragging it back and forth, it's sort of scrubbing the video at the same time. So I want it right when I start pointing up. I'm going to let go, and its auto default is to fill the whole screen. So how I'm going to add that picture-in-picture effect, I'm going to select the image on top. So the yellow bar is around that image, so it's selected. And I'm going to come up to, it looks like the icon, it's called video overlay, so it's two squares. One is a solid square and one is a dotted square. And I'm going to select the video overlay, and right now it's in cutaway settings, but I want it to be picture-in-picture. So it added it on the wrong side, but you can kind of see it made it smaller, but I can just click and drag it and make it a little bit bigger. Oops, I kind of want to keep those settings. I think it's going to let me. There we go. So that way I can add it in there as well. And it naturally adds, let's see if I can zoom in on this. No, it's not going to let me. Which what I was doing there, this little scrubbing tool right here, you can either zoom out all the way so you can see your full timeline, or you can zoom in if you just need to see one clip at a time. So that's how you would zoom back and forth. All right, so now we can see what that would look like.
Of the pig. Thanks for watching. Bye.
So as I start waving, I want it to go away. So I'm going to do that same scrub or trim it up a little bit. And right when I start waving is when I want it to go away. So there we go. So let's see how that looks.
Of the pig. Thanks for watching. Bye.
There we go. So now it's gone. So quick and easy. That took no time at all. And let's see. Okay, so what's next on my thing in here? Oh, okay. I also wanted to show, this is a really helpful thing, and I would get this question a lot whenever I did iMovie training. I don't know if you guys can hear it quite so well, but during the clip of when I am showing the process of my screen, you can just kind of listen to the audio. Yeah, everyone's face kind of went. So you don't really want that, and it just doesn't sound very good, and yeah. So if you have something like that where you're just typing, then what you can do is you select the clip, you can right-click, and you detach audio. And then it creates a separate file. So right now, automatically, if you have a video, they link the sound and the video together. And so that's how you detach the two and make them two separate files. So that way I can click right here on the audio and delete it. So now it's mute. So this is what it sounds like now. So there's no sound. But also that kind of creates a little bit of a lull in the video, that all of a sudden there was sound, now there's not. So what you can do is go to audio, and iMovie has sound effects for you. And these are actually, unlike the Screencast-O-Matic where there's only 3 kind of cheesy options, iMovie has some pretty good options. So you can go through, there's tons. You can see all of these, and they're different links as well, so you can look on the time. You're like, okay, I have a clip that's 4 minutes long. I want to add a little bit of music to it. So you can just kind of go through all these. So I'm just going to add, where's the one that I added last time? I'm going to add road trip short, because my clip is about, let's see if it'll tell me. It's about, you can kind of see really, as I put my mouse over it, it tells me right here in the bottom, a little thing that says 10.2 seconds pops up, and so the road trip short is about 9 seconds. So I'm just going to click and drag that under there. So as we can see, let's see if it'll go. It's a little bit too short, but this is what it would kind of sound like. Sorry, too loud. So that's, just something fun you can add if you want to. So I've got my audio file and I've also got my clip, but the clip is too long. However, it's kind of a boring clip anyways because I'm just typing into a search bar, and I can make this faster. So there is a way that I could speed up a clip. So this is also a great thing to do if you find in the middle of a screencast video you have to wait for something to load, and it's like, well, I don't know, where the 5 minutes of this video is watching the bar go to 100%. So what you can do is you can speed up the clip. So I am going to right-click and go to Show Speed Editor. And this little bar comes up here at the top, and I'm going to grab, you can kind of barely see it, but it's a little gray circle right there at the bottom. And I am going to grab that gray circle at the end, and I am going to drag it to the very end of this clip so that they're about the same length. And you can kind of see as I'm dragging, do you guys see the little bunny that is popping up? So if I'm dragging it in, it means I'm speeding it up. Or I could drag it out and make it super long. So opposite, you can do the opposite as well, and the little turtle pops up. So, it's either fast or slow. So I'm going to drag it to where it's faster. So I'll just, as an example, I'll show you how quickly this can go now. Actually, I'm going to mute this really quick. Just so it's not annoying. But yeah, it just kind of speeds up the clip a little bit. So, all right, I'm going to add that back in. I'm going to make the clips about the same length of time, and we should be good. All right, a couple more things. That for the music, it was really loud, and it's obviously louder than when I talk, so you also don't want that as well. Like if I'm talking quietly and then the next clip is super loud, it's almost like when a commercial comes on or something. So you can click on that audio clip, and there is a line right in the middle, and you can just click on that, and it highlights it yellow, so that's how you know that you've selected it. And to adjust the volume, you just select it and you move it down. So I'm going to make it probably about 10%. And that way the sound is a little bit more even throughout the video. So you can kind of see, well, let me.
And select the whole thing and you want out all the sound?
That's what I would do. Or the whole audio clip is, you just select that and you move it down.
Only the audio, the whole production.
Oh, the whole production? You'd have to, because they're all separate clips, you would have to do it individually. So it's kind of just a quick and easy way to do that, but it might be a little tedious. See, that way it's not quite so. Before it was like, really loud. But yeah, let me see how much more time do we have. Okay, we got about 10 more minutes. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to show you just a few more things. Also, another good practice to do is I like to add kind of a fade in and fade out to most of my clips. So how you're going to do that is, let's see if it'll make me let it, oh no. And I'm just going to Control Z because I messed up. So that's all you have to do is you just undo it and it will go back to what you did. So for any video, you can click here down, you can kind of see right here in the audio, there's a little circle, that same circle. If you just click that and drag it, it creates I'm kind of creating like this curve. Can you guys see that at all? It's like super small. But yeah, you can kind of see the curve right down there at the bottom. So that means that the audio is going to fade in and fade out. So it will kind of slowly come in rather than bam, it's on. So that's just good practice for any of your clips. So I'm just going to do that for both of mine. You can see it a little bit better on this green one. This green clip, I'm going to have the audio fade in. Well, I'll show you the difference between the two. Okay, so this is without a fade. And if I add a little bit of a fade in, it just kind of makes that a little bit easier on the ears. You guys kind of hear the difference? So it's not quite so like, whoa, something's new, that kind of thing. And I just kind of add that on each one. It's your personal preference on however long you want to make it, but probably like 10 to 20 seconds is fine either way. And so I'm just going to add those fade ins and fade outs, just quick and easy. And I also don't have a transition for the beginning or the end of my clip. So I'm going to go up to the transitions. I'm going to add, so a good transition for the stoppers on either side of your video would be fade to black. So you want to go black, fade in, and then at the very end it will fade into black. So right now this is how it would open, but if I added a fade to black, it would start black and fade in. And fade to black on this side, quick and easy. So those are just some good, easy things to add just to make your video, just to take the quality to the next level and just make it not quite so clunky, or just make those transitions a little bit smoother. You can add titles if you need to add text. The one downfall about iMovie is I think it's a pretty powerful tool, especially if it's built into your device. The one downfall is that you don't have as much control when editing your text. You really have to kind of stick to these presets. So if I wanted to add a beginning, like welcome to my video, that kind of thing, so I would have to add a background, so I'll add blue. And I've got a blue background, and it'll automatically add a clip for about 3.5 seconds for any title, because that's a good amount of time for a title. And then I'll just choose one of these and overlay the title on top of it. And that's where I would put my text in, like, welcome to my video. I should probably capitalize those, huh? Welcome to my video, there's my title. I can add another transition of fade to black just to make that introduction a little bit smoother. But make sure that your title is lined up with the actual text is lined up at the very end, because it kind of automatically went over. And then, so if I left it the way that it was, if it was automatically over, that would come on and then that would come on, and it looks a little weird. So I'm just gonna drag that to where they're lined up and they're synced together. And that kind of did a weird thing. I don't know why it did that. Let's see if it'll let me if I make that text a little bit smaller rather than auto, it may not do that effect that we had. So I'm just going to type in 36. Oops. Nope, that's way too small. Let's try 72. It's still a little small, but at least you guys get the idea. There we go. And then it didn't do that double effect.
Hi, my name is Katie Carnes.
And there you go. That's really the gist of, or kind of the basics of iMovie. I know, I'm sorry for the iPad people, I know the process is a little different, but you can still do all of these same things on your iPad. So it's pretty easy, quick and easy. Really, you just kind of need to know how to add clips together, maybe put in a transition or two, and you should be good to go. But yeah.